Welcome to the Veterans Gaming Podcast. My name is Kevin, New York Jets fan since 1982, and this is my reaction video to the press conference today for new New York Jets coach Aaron Glenn, the 22nd head coach in the history of the New York Jets. Before I go any further, I'm not going to come out here and be a hypocrite and say that Aaron Glenn was my first choice to replace Jeff Ulbrich. The way Jeff Ulbrich coached this season, I think I would have taken Rich Kotite. Don't hold me to that. I'm just kidding. But I'm not gonna come out here and say that Aaron Glenn was my first choice. He was my second choice. My first choice was Brian Flores, who was defensive coordinator, is the defensive coordinator, excuse me, for the Minnesota Vikings. The main reasons were in his time with the Miami Dolphins when he coached. He was known as a very tough, strict disciplinarian, a taskmaster, so to speak. And it was one of those deals where his coaching style was my way or the highway. Obviously, in Miami, that rubbed some people the wrong way during his tenure, particularly Tua Tagovailoa, who allegedly got his feelings hurt by some of the interactions between him and Brian Flores. Then you factor in the fact that he sued the National Football League for discriminatory things going on as far as racial uh, profiling or whatever the case may be. I'm not 100% in the know about that lawsuit. And then on top of that, Brian Flores, a native of Brooklyn, New York, and he just had that aura where it was like, hey, it's my way or the highway. And because of the way the Jets played during the 2024 season, I felt that that is what the New York Jets needed going forward, particularly from the defensive side of the ball. With that being said, Brian Flores did get interviewed along with like it seemed like everybody. It felt like the Jets interviewed everybody from Vince Lombardi to Ray Malavasi to John Madden. I mean, they were interviewing anybody and everybody. With that being said, I am happy that the Jets did take Aaron Glenn over Ron Rivera, over Rex Ryan, who was the thing with Rex Ryan. The only team that interviewed him was the Jets, and that said a lot. Again, over Ron Rivera, over Rex Ryan, over Mike McCarthy. Should they have interviewed John Gruden? Yes, but I really don't think John Gruden would have taken the job. Aaron Glenn did want the job. On top of that, New Orleans sounds like New Orleans was interested in him coming over. Obviously, he's got some history with the New Orleans Saints. It's a shock that the Dallas Cowboys did not interview him. And what a coincidence that the Dallas Cowboys hired Brian Schottenheimer as their head coach. But nevertheless, Aaron Glenn, the new coach of the New York Jets, and the Jets were right to pick Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn understands being a Jet. Aaron Glenn is one of the greatest Jets in franchise history. I've said it in other videos. I'll say it in this one. One of the greatest cornerbacks in the history of the Jets. He was the greatest cornerback in Jets history until Darrelle Revis came along. If you ask me to build an all-time Jets defense, my two cornerbacks are going to be Darrelle Revis and Aaron Glenn, number 31. So that's where Aaron Glenn, I think, had the edge, a big edge over Brian Flores. The fact that Aaron Glenn was drafted by the Jets, 12th pick in the 1993, 94 draft. He saw that first year with Pete Carroll, and then everything went downhill. He was on the team with Rich Kotite, the 1995 team, which finished 3-13, and then it got even worse in 1996, that 1-15 team. And just from a personal standpoint, that was the worst year in my 40 plus years of being a Jets fan. Back in 1996, I was in the Navy and I was stationed in Jacksonville, Florida. That year, the Jacksonville Jaguars, as a second year expansion team, made it all the way to the AFC Championship game. So you can imagine, especially all the military people out there watching, there's always a lot of banter between the college teams and the pro teams and so on and so forth. You can imagine how bad I got roasted that year living in Jacksonville. with Jacksonville Jaguar fan base out there. Nevertheless, Aaron Glenn has seen the worst of times, and he was able to see better days, much better days. Particularly 1997, they went from 1-15 to 9-7, barely missing the playoffs. And then in 1998, they got to the AFC title game, had that 10-0 lead, which Aaron Glenn made a mention in the press conference. That was not my favorite part, but at the same time, my favorite part of that press conference because it really made you see that Aaron Glenn really understands what it's like to be a Jet. And if you heard what he said and the way he was talking about the end of that 98 AFC title game and how he wants to get that back, it's been haunting him for all these years. He never got, I believe, when he went to New Orleans and Dallas, I don't think that he ever got to an NFC championship game with those teams. He definitely didn't get to an AFC title game with the Houston Texans when he went and played for them for a few years. Something that I'm still upset about that the Jets let Aaron Glenn go, but nothing we can do about that. So that 1998 AFC championship game was the closest that he ever got to the Super Bowl. So that's a motivation for him, not being able to get to the Super Bowl with the New York Jets as a player. Now he's got the incentive to do that as a coach. And it would be ironic that a former Jet would lead the Jets to the Super Bowl. Uh, Another fact, Aaron Glenn is the second former Jets player to become head coach of the New York Jets. Walt Michaels, the late Walt Michaels, was a member of the New York Jets in 1963. I believe that was the first year that they were actually called the New York Jets. The first couple of years, the New York Jets were known as the New York Titans. And then Walt Michaels coached the New York Jets from 1977 to 1982. And of course, at the end of that 1982 season, oh man, 42 years ago, a memory that I still a scar that I still carry with me for life. That 1982 AFC Championship game, the Mud Bowl, and AJ Effendewey and Don Shula and that whole shebang. And I was watching the Sack Exchange documentary, and there was a part there where the Jets Sack Exchange members believe that Walt Michaels was let go because of some things that might have been said after the Mud Bowl and some alleged cheating that might have been going on with the Dolphins. And I guess he spoke up and basically he kind of got fired from the Jets and never, I believe he never coached again in the NFL. So as far as the press conference, I mean, let's be honest, he said a lot of things that we wanted to hear, which is, I mean, that's what a new coach is supposed to say, that we're gonna improve, we're gonna get better. I can take two roads here. I can be pessimistic and say, well, this is the same thing that Salah said, that Mangini said, that Herman Edwards said, that Gase said. Well, not Gase, because Gase was, Gase's eyes were like all over the place. So we won't really count him. But because Aaron Glenn is a former Jet, and I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. What I really want to see is, yeah, you can convince the fan base, which is one thing, but can you convince the players? Can you convince Garrett Wilson? Can you convince Olaf Ashanu? Most importantly, can you convince Sauce Gardner? Because I've been on Sauce Gardner. Can Sauce Gardner improve? Will DJ Reed, who said he's going to leave, will Aaron Glenn be able to convince DJ Reed to stay? What are the Jets going to do in the draft? So many different questions. The advantage that he does have, the Jets, even though they are 5-12, their talent suggests that they are much better than a 5-12 team. Then there's the big question: is Aaron Rodgers going to come back? Aaron Glenn and Dan Muji, I believe, is the name of the new general manager. They said that they have been or will be in talks with Aaron Rodgers, and they will come to a decision sooner or later. Me personally, I do not think that Aaron Rodgers should come back. I think the Jets need to just start fresh. I think they should just give Tyrod Taylor an opportunity and maybe even Jordan Travis, and maybe draft a quarterback in the second, third round of the draft, or just kind of hold off till 2026. I think that there's some other holes that need to be filled. I think it's more important to keep Garrett Wilson. We've heard about some friction between him and Aaron Rodgers, whether it's true or not. If it's true, I'm gonna do whatever I can to keep Garrett Wilson. He is the star of the team. You got to get Brees Hall to improve next year, and most importantly, get that defense up and running. So again, as far as that press conference, I'm happy with what it went. It didn't go on forever and ever. I appreciate his genuineness. I appreciate the fact that he's saying that, hey, we're built for this shit. Those were his exact words. So it looks like Aaron Glenn is ready to go to work. I think he's going to get to work immediately. He's going to start evaluating every player on the roster and see what the future holds. And I'm hyped, but at the same time, I'm cautiously optimistic that Aaron Glenn can turn things around. But having been under the tutelage of the likes of Bill Parcells and Sean Payton and Dan Campbell, amongst others. He even mentioned Al Groh. Who would have ever thought that he would have mentioned Al Groh and all the times that they spent watching film? Didn't know that. You learn something new every day. So props to Aaron Glenn for putting in the work, and this is his moment. The time is now, and hopefully we can see a big improvement in the New York Jets for the 2025 season. So those are my thoughts as far as that press conference. I am happy with it. I am hyped that he is the head coach of the New York Jets, even though he was not my first pick. As my second pick, again, I understand he is one of the all-time Jets players. So I think that put him over the hump. He understands what it means to be a Jets. He made no secret that he wanted a job. So why not give an opportunity to somebody that really wants that job? If you're hiring somebody, do you want to hire somebody that wants the job or somebody that really doesn't want it? I'll take my chances with somebody that wants the job. Aaron Glenn wants the job, got the job, and hopefully he'll be here to stay. And hopefully, instead of no gas, all brakes, it'll kind of be the other way around. And hopefully there'll be a new mantra. Hopefully the Jets players are built for this, and the players that are not built for it, he can get rid of those players and bring in players that are built for it. So those are my thoughts as far as the hiring of Aaron Glenn. And I'll be bringing more videos here on the Veterans Gaming Podcast.